everyone. Coach Mel here. I realized a couple podcasts ago that I really don't need to tell you who I am because on my intro, I tell you who I am. So welcome to the Mel Fit podcast where we talk all things health, fitness, and lifestyle. Today we have a guest. We're so excited to have my client and friend Emily here to chat about her journey. So this is going to be a good one. My intention with this podcast is to make it 40 minutes or longer, and hopes that you would, if it's winter, you would walk on your treadmill or you would go for a walk and just kind of take this in. And at the end of the podcast, hopefully you got some little nugget that stuck with you, or maybe you were kind of in a funk and we kind of offered you a little bit of inspiration. But the one thing about Melfit to note is Melfit is real. These are real people in your area if you're local and all around the globe. So these are real stories. So if you think in your mind it can't be you, listen up to Emily's story and listen to her talk about how busy her life is and how she somehow made Melfit a lifestyle. So we're going to just start out with casual conversation. Thanks for being here today. So how's your week been?
Well, thanks for having me. Well, I found out this week that 2022 is the year to challenge myself. I always find myself, I say yes to things and then I get in these uncomfortable situations, but that's when the growth occurs, right? As You've said many times. So I was nominated by my alma mater because I got my master's degree in 2021, so last year. And I was nominated to go to a national convention to present my thesis research. Well, I was told that I was going to be in this little room with a bunch of people and have a poster presentation, and people would come in and out and look at our research and talk with us. And I found out yesterday that I'm going to be in front of a big group with an audience.
Oh, wow.
Presenting on stage.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like,
well, this is good practice for you then.
Because with public speaking, and this, this is definitely good practice for this. This is my first podcast, so I'm excited to be here to do this.
Yeah,
but
this is great.
When I first started lecturing, because I'm an instructor at the dental assisting program at NIC, I would get up in front of the class and my throat would close. Mm-hmm. I could barely squeak a word out. Mm-hmm. And I would get sweaty and shaky and nervous, and I could hear it in my voice. And I think pushing myself in my master's program, because I had to do a lot of recordings of myself, and I'm sure I won't go back I'll go back and listen to this and I'll be like, oh, I hate my own voice, because you always hate your own voice or your own recordings. But when I got through my master's, I was like, okay, I'm more comfortable with that. But public speaking has also improved. And I think this is like the next level I've got to go to. So I called my advisor and I was like, you have to talk me off this cliff. She's like, you know what? You're going to do fine. She's like, get up there and be yourself. It's like you're having a conversation with someone, but you're presenting your findings, and be proud of what you did. Mm-hmm. So,
do you know what calms me down, Emily? What calms me down is I'm an expert in my field, and you're an expert in your field. So why should we be nervous?
Yeah.
And I heard this the other day from a billionaire, and he said, my best advice to anyone is, as long as your avatar knows less than you, or as long as you're teaching your avatar something that they don't know, meaning we don't need to know everything.
Right.
We don't need to know everything there is to know on the planet. As long as your audience, it's new information, then you should feel confident with that. So, is your audience?
Well, it's a national convention for dental hygienists, so we have, seasoned hygienists that have maybe been practicing for 30, 35 years. There's some newbies that are going to be there as well. My focus for my thesis was on statistics, and many of them probably have not had exposure to a statistics course since, some of them high school, maybe as a prerequisite. So, some of them are not educators, and my findings are more focused towards education and teaching. So it could be something that, definitely somebody will say, oh, okay, that makes sense. This is new information for me. So,
and that's it, new information, or also, even if it's something they already knew, brushing up on something
Right.
and bringing it to the surface. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. So when is it?
It's the end of June.
Okay.
In Kentucky.
Okay.
So, yeah, I've got to prep myself for that.
Well, if you need help
I'm sure.
with what to wear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Let's do that.
I took Emily shopping for some reason, but I'm not going to tell you why. She'll tell you later. So
And it was so fun. So
yeah, we had an absolute blast. I have a background in fashion. I think that when I came out of the womb, I had a purse in my hand. All of my childhood pictures, I have a purse. And
I love it.
It's kind of a hobby. And my best friend and I had a couple clothing boutiques. And yeah, we just really love fashion. I think for me, more than anything with fashion, and Emily can attest to this too, is it just makes me feel good, you know, to just, you know, put on nice clothes. And I tell people at any stage of your journey, like, look good now, feel good now. Like, don't wait until you get to a certain spot. Enjoy all phases of the journey. So, alrighty. So we're going to get into it, you guys. And Emily's going to kind of give you a little bit of a timeline and kind of walk you through kind of how we met and kind of her backstory and where we are now.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Well, I guess I don't know how far back to go, but I can start from when I was a kid, and I was always kind of an overweight kid. I wasn't involved in sports really. I just, you know, I ate. And didn't really exercise that much, although we lived, you know, in a rural area. I would get outside, but I loved food. We all love food, right? Yeah. So, sure. But I didn't have those healthy habits. And it wasn't until I went to college that I really started to kind of focus on that. And I think I said in one of my testimonials, I think it was the first one, I had said that I actually lost the freshman 15. And I think I lost actually close to 20 or 30 pounds my freshman year, because I enrolled in a fitness class. I would go every day with a friend to the gym, and I had unlimited salad bar at the food court. So I would eat salads and just healthy foods. And I felt so much better when I was like that. I actually took up running. I had a friend that I went to hygiene school with, and she was an Ironman. And she kind of motivated me to get into running and kind of set me up for running. So I would go out. I lived on the lower South Hill in Spokane, and I would run up the hill. I would run a block. I would walk a block. I would run a block, walk a block. Then the next week I would, you know, run 2, walk 1. And then I got to the point where I would actually run 5 miles up and down the South Hill.
That's awesome.
And I knew that I had reached kind of my fitness plateau, so to speak, when I went into a store after a run once, and I had short shorts on, and I think it was just a zip up or something, and the checker says, "You must be a runner." And I'm like, "Well, why do you say that?" And me being me, I'm like, "Oh, I guess, you know." And I said, "Why do you say that?" And she's like, "Well, nobody can pull off those shorts like
That's
you
awesome.
can, you know, with that body." And I was like, I didn't really realize that. I mean, when you're in the journey, you know things are improving, but it's that validation from others that you get that see you or maybe haven't seen you on a regular basis, and they're like, "Wow, what happened?" And it was the same thing. It was between my second and third year of hygiene school, and I went back to start my third year, and my classmates were like, "We don't even recognize you. Like, we didn't even know that was you, and we saw you from behind." And it was just an awesome feeling. I mean, nothing really replaces that.
And how many years ago was that? And you remember
That,
it like it was yesterday?
I know. That was, I was 23, and I'm going to be 40 this November. Fabulous. So 23 was my year. And then I kind of slowly started getting back into it. I had mentioned to Mel before we got in here that I had a knee injury, and I hyperextended my knee in the middle of a long race. What does Bloomsday? 7.3 miles?
I think, yeah, that sounds about right.
So I had someone run in front of me, and I've been to the doctor. They said it could be like a small cartilage tear, and just kind of baby it, do physical therapy. I tried all that. Nothing really worked. But, you know, running really got me into shape really fast. But I haven't really found anything that's worked before I started doing the 25-minute workouts. that has worked, and it hasn't hurt my knee. I mean, I've had a little flare-ups here and there, but it seemed to calm down. I've tried running, I've tried other exercises, with equipment, and nothing has really helped that knee.
I'm going to tell you what you can do. Rollerblading, because my knee is pretty
well,
jacked right now. Have you tried it?
So back in middle school, I actually broke both of my wrists rollerblading.
Oh, shoot.
Not at the same time, but exactly 3 years apart.
Oh, geez.
So I try to stay off of rollers.
Not. Okay, right. Sorry.
And I kind of need my hands for work. So
okay, that's true. Maybe not a good idea.
But yes, that is good exercise. I've tried skiing. I used to ski a little bit. I'm not a great skier, but kind of that lateral movement is what really kind of gets it going. So, but I find that just doing the exercises, like I just started the shred. What am I, week 3? Yeah. Week 3. And I haven't even...
No, I think we're on 4.
Oh, we're on 4. Okay, yes, we're on 4.
Yeah.
It's going by so fast.
We need your pictures and measurements.
I know.
Nag, nag, nag.
You. But I've noticed that it hasn't really flared up as much. And I think it's because my quads are stronger. Yeah. My calves are stronger.
I think that
it's kind of isolating it. But
anyways. I think that makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Your legs look good.
Thank you.
I can tell through your jeans. I always tell people, if I didn't know you, I would know you worked out. Like if I saw you in the grocery store, I would know you worked out.
So those compliments are the ones that stick with you. So
tell.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, going back, I kind of went off tangent there for a minute, but
you have plenty of time.
So
everybody out there, you better be walking or on your treadmill.
Do it. And it passes the time when someone's talking, right?
It really does. I go on, now that we're doing the shred, I'm doing it with Emily. It takes me a couple of walks around my loop. So definitely when I've got the podcast going. And I know this sounds crazy, but I listen to my own podcast.
Oh, that's good.
I just listen to it for critiquing, but I also, get motivation. And then I forget things that I say, and then I'm like, all right, reminding myself of things. So
right. Yeah. No, it's good to listen to them. So yeah. So okay, where was I at? So I went back. I was in college in 23. I kind of I was in great shape, and then it just kind of went downhill after my knee injury because I didn't know anything besides running, and I didn't like working out at the gym. I'm an outdoorsy person. I didn't like working out at the gym. I actually took up trail running a little bit too. Boy, that'll get you in shape.
Oh yeah.
That lifts the booty like nothing else.
Yeah.
Going up those hills.
I know.
So I took up trail running a little bit, and it was a little bit better, but I would, I could work out for like a week or two, and then my knee would be so swollen that I'd have to take time off. And I kind of had more time off than I did actually working. Consistency wasn't there. So when I met my husband, I think I mentioned in my testimonial, I was 200 pounds, but when I met my husband, I was probably around 175. And when I was at my skinniest, I know you say not to look at the scale too much, but I mean, that was my gauge at that time. I think I was down to 150, close to it was 150. I was walking a lot, and that seemed to be fine for my knee. But then I met my husband, and it was like, okay, we're going out on dates, we're eating out, a little bit more. Then we got married and had kids, and it's hard. I think I gained 30 pounds with my first, and 35-ish with my second.
And how old are your children?
2 and 5 right now. With my first, I was getting close to that 2-year mark, and the weight was not budging. And so I did keto for a little bit, and I actually lost quite a bit of weight, but I got tired of keto and kind of went back, and it just got burnt out on it because I couldn't have like bread as my jam. I was like, I need bread. And that's why, part of why Melfit works is because I can have sourdough every once in a while. I don't feel like I'm restricting myself. So I got burnt out on keto, and just as I got to kind of a comfortable weight where I felt comfortable in my clothes, then, surprise, I'm pregnant with number 2. And 35 pounds, around 35 pounds with her. And kind of got back to that, getting close to that 2-year mark. That was in October, was the 2-year mark. And you came in June to see me. and, started talking with you in my chair. And I remember the words you said. You're like, I can help you.
Sounds
I can
like
help
me.
you. Yeah.
Sounds like me.
And of course I was like, okay, tell me more.
Let me interject. You spoke first because I never
Yeah.
push myself on anyone's, right? You
Yeah.
must have said something first.
I probably did, because I knew
you
your
started
background.
asking me about my business.
Because I knew what you did, and I
Okay.
knew that you had
Yeah.
worked with
Yeah.
people that I know.
Yeah.
And so it was almost like maybe a silent plea, like, help me out, please. But honestly, this is what I felt with Melfit, and I'll say this. I felt like Melfit was for the elite, and I didn't belong in the elite club. But now I know it's for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
And why? Why would you think that?
Well, I felt like, so the people that I knew that did it, I felt like it was going to be crazy expensive. I felt like it was going to be just something that I couldn't afford or something that I couldn't do. And at that point, I just was associating that with the people that were doing it, the people that I knew. But when you started talking to me, it was like, this is totally affordable. And this is totally something that I can do. So, yeah,
We're going to get back to that.
Okay.
I don't want to interrupt this awesome story.
So, when you started telling me more, it was like, okay, this is, how much my boot camp is. And I'm thinking, okay, I budget everything to a T. And I'm thinking, okay, what can I do? Well, I had just graduated with my master's. And I got some gift money from my family. And I was like, okay, I got like $300. And I had gone online before you came in and bought a ton of clothes. And I hadn't received the clothes yet, but I received them shortly after I spoke with you. And I remember going through that box. I know it was a huge box. I probably got 20, 30 pieces. I'm a bargain shopper, but I got
20,
some good...
30 pieces for $300.
Yeah, I did pretty good. I'm a bargain shopper. But I tried on all these clothes, and one by one I tried them on, and I ripped them off and put them back in the box. I'm like, this is going back, this is going back, this is going back. And it was like one piece that I kept. And it was a big, bulky piece that covered me up. And I already had a closet full of clothes. Many of those clothes I had not worn in a while. And I also had my size 10, actually 7. I had some 10s down there and some 12s shoved under my bed, put away for that one day that I was going to get back into them. Now they were out of style, so I had to go shopping anyways. But it was kind of my goal. But it was under the bed. It was out of sight, out of mind. I didn't really think about it.
There's a lot of people probably listening and watching this right now that can so relate to that. I know I can. I have multiple sizes.
But I would go home, and scrubs are very loose fitting, so I wore scrubs during the work week. And I would go home on the weekends, and I would try stuff on. Nope, doesn't cover me up. Try another thing on. Nope, doesn't cover me up. I was getting to the point where even my loose clothes were tight. And I was thinking of that 2-year mark after having a baby, and I'm like, look, I got to do something. So after I went through all those clothes and hauled them back to the store and returned them, or put them in the box and returned them, I thought, okay, now I've got $300, close to it. What am I going to do with this? And why should I be spending more money on clothes that I am just using to cover up my body when I could actually change my body to wear some of the clothes that I have in my closet and buy new clothes that are in style?
I love that you just said that, and that statement right there is something that most people will not admit. So listen up to that. That's a huge, if you take anything from this, like, most people will not admit it. Like, why don't I actually do something about this?
Right. So, because I didn't feel comfortable in my clothes. Even though they were loose fitting and they covered me up, I still did not feel comfortable. I wanted to wear those clothes that were cute, that were tight fitting, and I wanted to be comfortable in them. So I can't remember if I texted you or I called you, or
I feel like it was a text.
It might have been a text.
Our text thread's really long.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I can go back and look.
But I texted you and I was like, okay, I'm doing it. Where do I start? And, you kind of helped me with the process of, well, look at all the plans and figure out where you're at. And I knew, going through hygiene school and doing prerequisites, I had done nutrition classes. I had, when I was at my goal weight and when I was running a lot and stuff, I was eating well. I knew what I needed to eat. And I love looking at recipes. I love looking at, I'd log into Pinterest and kind of do a little bit of meal planning, but didn't know exactly a lot about macros and a lot about, the ideal level I needed to be at or just nutrition in general. I had a little bit of a background, but not much. So, and cooking for, the kids would always be, what's for dinner, Mom? My husband, what's for dinner? And putting together meals. Sometimes I'd forget to get food out, meat out to thaw from the freezer. And then I was like, okay, well, I guess it's chicken nuggets and fries tonight. And my son, he's 5 and I'm fearful for when he's a teenager because I'm not going to be able to keep food in the house. But he eats everything in sight. So I'd get the kids fed, get out the door, I'd grab maybe a cheese stick or something. So I'm like, okay, it's got protein in it. Hopefully it'll keep me full. And I'd get in the car and my son, Mom, what do you have? Can I eat that? And I'm like, sure, buddy. So I would go without. There was times when I would have 4 or 5 hour stretches where I wouldn't eat anything. And then I'd come home starving and eat the wrong foods. I'd just eat what was convenient instead of taking the time to cook it.
Yeah, we've all done that, right, Josh?
Yeah. It's like, ooh, there's a bag of chips. Okay, I'll have some of those. And I have a sweet tooth. I'm a hygienist, but I have to admit that I love candy.
I eat dessert every day.
Yeah, but it's healthy dessert.
Yeah,
I was eating the wrong desserts. So I was tired of that. And I had more time, on my schedule, but I went from a full-time graduate student. I was working 3 part-time jobs, and I think I'd mentioned my only regret was that I didn't start Melfit sooner, because if I had meal prepping, if I had meal prepping when I was going to school,
that would have been so nice.
Yeah, I would have had my food ready to go. I would have had healthy food for my family, and I wouldn't have had to worry about, coming home and, oh, what's for dinner, and kids asking me what's for dinner, and pulling out some crap food from the freezer that's quick and easy, that's convenient. Because I already had, I would have had my food ready to go. So I graduated in May, and I think I started Melfit June 1st, right? I think that was when it was.
I know it was summer.
Yeah, it was, I think it was May 1st. And it was just kind of this, like, aha moment. Now, the first few weeks, they were challenging because it was, like, trying to get my organization together. But for me, I went from doing homework and projects to Melfit. So it was kind of like, it was almost like homework again, but it was fun homework. It was like, this is something that's fun, that's exciting,
and you're working on yourself.
And I'm working on myself, and it's time for me. And everybody had told me, you're working yourself too much. You need to, quit one of your jobs. I was done with school, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to leave one of my jobs. So I left one of my jobs. I'm only, down to 2 jobs, which that's kind of where I've always been, is at least 2 jobs I've had. So I'm working 2 jobs now. I have more time for me, have more time to be a better mom, a better wife, a better daughter, a better friend, the list goes on. But I can be there for them because I'm more comfortable. I'm like, Mommy's tired tonight, I can't do this tonight, or I don't have the energy. It's like, let's go for a walk.
Isn't that crazy?
Go for a hike. Let's do this. So my kids are benefiting from it as well, and my husband as well. So
when that was going on, did your husband ever call it to your attention, or were you guys just kind of on autopilot through life like most people are?
Yeah, and I poor guy. He deserves a medal for sticking with me with, when I was going through my master's, I had so much stress. I was very short, I had a short fuse, I guess you could say. And he oftentimes got the wrath of it. It's like, I don't have time for that. You're going to have to figure it out. And, it's a lot more calm, I guess you could say, in our house, because Mama's happy.
Yeah.
And once you get to that point, it's like, now I can, help everybody else and have a clear mind about it. So,
but you've got that entrepreneurial spirit like I do. And although it's painful, and although you had to sacrifice, like, ultimately, I don't think we would be happy if we were any other way. Like, it's the struggle and the journey and the, all of that makes it so good, right?
Right.
Kind of like Melfit. When you're there, you're there.
Right.
I think I said this on a different podcast. It's like, yeah, I knew I was going to get there. Like,
Yeah.
I had a plan. I can follow a plan. But what the story is the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's the journey of how did you get from point A to point B.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember being very grouchy, and that's why I
Yeah.
love Melfit is I feel kind of whole. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can, pursue everything I want to pursue, but the priority of myself, my fitness, my exercise, that's without question. Like
Mm-hmm.
every week it's not, should I food prep? Should I exercise? It's just become a lifestyle.
It has.
So
Totally.
it's awesome.
Yeah, my Sundays are my prep days, and yeah, get it done. And now I don't don't just grab a cheese stick. I have an actual meal that's healthy that keeps me full, that I can work with, and I can get up and do. I was telling Melissa on the way here that I've been setting my alarm for 5, and I am not a morning person. My family can vouch for that. I am not a morning person, and I've been getting up at 5 and doing my workouts, and I feel more productive. I feel like I have more energy. With my job as a hygienist, I'm, bent over all day, and I feel like my back is better because my core is stronger. And I feel just, I take walks on my lunch break now, whereas I used to just sit and, eat my food. And
Like it bothers you to not be moving,
Yeah,
right? Well,
exactly.
a quick story about me. I went from managing bars and restaurants to opening up a coffee stand, getting up at 4:30, and I complained every single day for probably the first 2 years. And Iggy finally said, "You know what? I'm so sick of hearing you say you're tired. Why don't you go to bed earlier?" And I thought, what? Could it be that simple? Yes, It is that simple. Set your freaking alarm. If you go to bed at 9:30 and get up at 5:30, that's 8 hours of sleep. Now, Josh, my favorite digital media assistant, who's right behind the camera
best.
here, also worked at night. And I think coming to Melfit, like, I tried to be pretty gracious. We would start at like 9, right, Josh?
Yeah.
And even 9 was a struggle for Josh. Like, he just couldn't get into a routine. And now he'll message me in the summertime and he'll be like, "Hey, if you want to start at he's game for 6 o'clock." So Josh, is your mic on?
Yeah.
So Josh, what do you think changed for you? What finally clicked to where you finally got your booty out of bed and started showing up?
Going to bed a lot sooner. Finally getting that, not being afraid to fall asleep earlier. Not getting out of that routine of going to sleep at midnight. So I'm waking up energized, not groggy.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think, Josh. That's how I felt. I felt like I was in a cloud. I was addicted to eye drops too. Like, I just felt like crap. Well, then I would have a little bit of time, maybe like an hour in the middle of the day. And do you think I went to work out? Like, I wanted to, every day all I could think about was going to take a nap. So yeah, I know it's hard, Emily, and it's, when I say that to people sometimes I feel mean, but it's something that you just have to get into the, get into the discipline of. So,
and you feel accomplished. Like I said, you get more done, and you just feel accomplished. And that's, I kind of think of a lot of the lessons that I'm trying to teach my kids, and I've been teaching or letting my kids listen to some kid podcasts. And they talk about like perseverance, and they talk about accountability and things like that. And I'm thinking, these are lessons that I have learned in this last year. I knew they were always there, but they kind of fade away when you're busy with stuff. And it's like, okay, these are things that really apply to my everyday life. It's not just when I'm trying to complete an assignment for school or things like that. This should be every day. So I should have a routine set up and know what to expect.
Yeah.
So I'm not, surprised. So it's, I have to bring up, because I was watching your Facebook. I don't have Instagram, but I probably had it on Instagram too. But didn't you have a hater that came out not too long ago and said, "This is not real life.
And
this is not realistic."
She gave me a bad review, and now I have 4.9 stars. Boo.
So this is something that's real life. You know, when I was talking about feeling like Melfit was just for the elite, this is something that anybody can do. I mean, it's not just, and her saying that it's unrealistic, the proof is in the before and after pictures. I mean, when you look at your before and afters and your testimonials, it's like, yes, this can be you.
And it's honestly, a lot of people, like business coaches and stuff, will tell you that you need to find out who your avatar is in an age range. It's hard for me because I wholeheartedly think, I mean, I've worked with 14-year-olds at my brick and mortar. I feel like Melfit is a lifestyle that could fit children, women, men, older people. Like, it's for everyone. Like, I hate to rule anybody out, and I don't just work with women. There's lots of men. But so I want to just kind of touch on where Emily, so she did my boot camp. I'm going to have her tell you what her results were, and then I want to interject one thing, and then kind of where she went from there and kind of where she is now. And listen up to her story. The one thing that you can take from it is, unlike most fad diets that everybody on the planet has done, including me, she never stopped. That is the one thing that why she's sitting here today looking so amazing, feeling confident, and has adopted this habit into a lifestyle. She didn't just do the 12 weeks and think, oh my gosh, I'm so done. I'm so glad I'm done, and then go back to her old life, which I've done, which you did with keto. So what happened on the 12-week boot camp with you? What were your results?
So I started June 1st and went through the 12 weeks, and the first at 28 pounds? The 28 on the dot?
Something like that.
Yeah.
And I believe Emily was our biggest loser ever. Crazy, because it's been, the torch has been taken from you twice, right?
Yes, and I'm excited that it's motivated others to like step up and have a goal.
Yeah.
Essentially.
And
like
when I wrote the plan 2 years ago, I wrote, I want to be realistic, and I want to be able to guarantee that this is what you could lose if you give the program 100%. And I think I wrote 25 pounds since then. So Emily got it, and then Nicole, who is also Emily's girlfriend, who was inspired by Emily's before and after, and actually secretly wanted to beat you in a fun way. Like, her whole motivation, even if it was 1 ounce, she wanted to beat Emily. So Emily had to give the torch to Nikki, and then Nikki had to give the torch to Dusty. And I think Dusty was 37 pounds, which is insane.
She blew it out of the water.
But all I have to say is, how does that feel, knowing that you are other people's inspiration? And let me interject one more thing. I've gotten so many referrals from Elena and Jasmine, and just so many different people that have followed your story. And for me, I can tell everybody till I'm blue in the face how wonderful Melfit is and that you should do it. But if you see one of your friends, then that's a true testimony. That's a real person. So, yeah.
Yeah, after I lost that weight, it was hard for me to post those pictures. Because, you know, everybody is on social media. Everybody sees your... And I didn't just do it to the Melfit Connect. I also posted to my own personal. So it was like, there's all my friends out there. And I think that's where Nikki saw it, because she wasn't on Melfit Connect yet. But it's hard, because it's like you're admitting that you let yourself essentially get lazy. You know, it's just out there in the public. And it's like, I've never labeled myself as a lazy person. I've always worked 3 to 5 jobs. You know, I've got 2 degrees. And I do it because I get self-satisfaction out of it. I don't do it to prove to other people that I can do it. It's for me. But to put myself out there, it was like, okay, now I'm showing my journey. And yes, maybe I can inspire someone else to do it.
And when I ask that of people and they say yes, I like secretly do a dance. Not because of self-promotion. I'm doing a dance because Emily would not have posted that if she didn't think she could stay there. That is a lot of reason why people, gosh, I don't, like the pressure
Right.
would make them crack. Don't you think it's good pressure you've got on yourself?
It is.
You don't want anybody to see you quit, right?
Right. Well, like I said, I get myself into uncomfortable situations, and it was
where growth
uncomfortable, but it
happens.
was a moment for growth. It was like, now I've got it, on Facebook land. It's out there. It's going to be there forever, and I can't ever let myself go back to that. So it's that accountability that, put it out there. So, and I got so many, comments from friends and stuff, and it was kind of it was a humbling experience almost to.
I was so glad you
Yeah.
did. So when Emily's local, so she's able to meet me in person. And if you're listening or watching this in your local, you're always welcome to come and meet me in person, and especially use my fancy in-body scale. So when Emily came at the end of the 12 weeks to use my in-body, I always talk about, there's no ceiling on MelFit, and my coaching and my support for you will never end, whether it's on a weekly basis or just on a casual basis. But I just want to make sure that everybody's okay and that they're going in the direction that they should. So Emily stated that she still had some goals she wanted to reach, so she continued to do another round of the 12-week boot camp with no coaching. Now, can this be done? Yes. Would I suggest it? Depends on your personality. So you've heard about her. I mean, she's got degrees. She's working multiple jobs. She's got little kids. She's got a family. She's, juggling a lot, wearing a lot of hats. The one thing I knew when I was in your chair, that you would be a good candidate for MelFit. Not that anybody wouldn't be a good candidate, because if you can follow a plan, you can MelFit. But I knew that you would be able to understand all the dynamics of the program on the science and mathematics side of things. Like, some people don't want to learn, and that's okay. You don't need to. You can just be on autopilot, and you don't really have to understand how I pair things together or what macros I use or why. You don't have to know that. But Emily wanted to know that. And Emily took the time to understand what food combinations I was putting together and why I would have her have bread at lunch, but then we tapered her carbs for dinner. So that's one thing I asked you is did you need my help? And I remember you explained to me in great detail for about 5 minutes, and I was just like, that to me that was impressive.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anybody has ever, they've never voiced to me that they actually understood like the principles and the science and the foundations. So I think that's why you freaking knocked the next 12 weeks out of the park, because you were able to do it. But I'm super proud of you for understanding the program. Again, you don't need to have all these degrees, because you've got me to do it for you. But I think in the future, what will benefit Emily is having an understanding of this. She'll be able to put together meals on her own, and I think that's what people struggle with a lot. And I do have a lot of people in my maintenance plan, and that's what I help them with. So I would have to say, after the 6-week shred, I mean, I really think that you could probably, put together. So
yeah. And I did that for a little bit, because I did the second round, and I lost another, it was 40 pounds total that I lost. So after that, and I remember you saying that, you're like, just freestyle for a little bit and see, what you can put together. And boy, that zuppa toscana, that is amazing. I love that recipe. Yeah. So I kind of started there and putting things together, and then I used my Fitness Pal and kind of looked at the macros. That's tough. It takes time to do it. But I kind of saw it again. I had, more free time to sit down and look at it. And now I can kind of look at recipes and kind of pair them together. But I just used your app and just said, okay, this is what I'm going to do for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. I have a binder of the printed recipes that I like, and I make comments on each one. If there's things that I really, really like, I'll, kind of put a star next to it or whatnot. But yeah, that was kind of fun to kind of freestyle a little bit. So I finished the second round, and then I kind of took a little bit of time off. Not really time off, but I didn't work out as much. I think that was my missing link there. I still ate clean, but I didn't work out as much.
Did you gain any weight back?
Yes, I did.
How much?
It was, let's see, it was probably 5 or 6 pounds. But I was kind of doing, at the end of my second round, I was doing some shreds in with my 25. So I started out doing like 1 a week, and then 2 a week, and then 3 a week, I think is the most that I had for shreds. And then I started doing just like mostly 25s. I think I cut out those shreds again. So I'm sure I lost some muscle, but I did gain a little bit back. But like you said, you gain weight back and you're like, okay, next week is going to be better. I got to get this off. So I reined it in a little bit, and then I started the 6-week shred, which I was scared to go into the 6-week shred because I was like, am I going to have the time to do an hour workout? Because my 25s are like, by the time I'm done, the kids come down and exercise with me for a little bit. They like to see Oscar.
So
where's Oscar at? But they come down and work out with me for a little bit, but then it's like short attention span. They're like, Mommy, are you done yet? Mommy, are you done yet? Just give me 10 more minutes. So I was like, okay, how's this going to go with hour-long workouts? So, I get up, get breakfast for my kiddos, or sometimes I get up, since I'm getting up at 5 now, I get it in before they even wake up. And then I can get up, they get up, get their breakfast, maybe set them down and do a craft. We're trying to cut out TV at our house, so set them down and do a craft. Have them pack their lunches. I set out all their food, so they pack their lunches.
Oh, awesome.
And then we get going for the day. So it's actually been, I was fearful of the hour workouts, but it's actually been better, I think, for my mental health and my physical health, both. So yeah, it's been more of a routine.
I actually, a lot of the reason why I do challenges is because I think that although anybody can join MELFIT at any time, I think I always listen to podcasts, and I heard the other day, the best thing you can do is just pick a date. Pick a date and just start. And Emily somebody had gifted her the 6-week shred for Christmas. So she had it in her toolbox, but she wasn't using the tool yet. And then I put out a shred and I said, I'm doing it as well. And she was like, all right, that's it.
That's it.
I'm looking for
And I
my
called out a
sign.
bunch of other people. I don't know who.
How we doing, Josh, on time? Good? Yeah.
I don't know how many other people joined. I called out some people. I called out Jasmine.
I'm going to tell you what. There's actually a lot of people doing the shred.
Okay.
With love, I would have to say sometimes when people are quiet, they might be riding the struggle bus a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's okay. And you know what I always tell people is I wasn't successful every time I tried.
Yeah.
Like, I've fallen down 7 times and got up 8. But my intention with the shred is we can all do hard things for 6 weeks especially.
Yeah.
The shred is intended to challenge you, tone you up and lean you out. And then after that, I think that if you were doing the MELFIT 25 workouts before, then you can kind of like have your own kind of, that was going to be one of my questions is, first of all, just because people like to not compare themselves to others, but I think people would probably like to know what was your top weight and what is your weight now, because a lot of people, it helps them if it's more relatable for them. Do you mind sharing?
So like when I first started MELFIT, 201 when I first started.
And were you ever heavier than that, if you don't mind me asking? Okay,
201. I was actually like 185 in high school. Okay. I was overweight in high school.
Okay.
And now 167 6,
Okay,
I think,
awesome.
at my last check-in.
That's I don't know why, because I remember when I was on my journey, Emily, I always wanted to know. I don't care now, but I know the viewers and the listeners might want to know, like, you know, because sometimes it helps. And how tall are you?
5'5".
5'5". Sometimes it kind of helps,
Right.
but also comparison is the thief of joy, and also depending on your build. I mean, Emily's got some nice muscular quads, you know, and she's built a lot of muscle.
Yeah.
And I really want you to scan too at the
And
at
I think
the end
that's,
of this.
yeah, I need to scan because I've actually, so week 4, so I've done 3 check-ins. So I think the first week I actually gained weight. And I wasn't so much discouraged because my clothes were fitting better and I could feel the muscle building. So I know that if I did an in-body scan, you know, I had to kind of erase that scale and know that I was actually building muscle.
And also, your body, when it's going through trauma, what does it do?
Inflames. Yeah.
What does that do to the scale?
Makes you
So
swell.
it's almost like if you get your wisdom teeth pulled out, you look, you know, like you got
A chipmunk.
chipmunk cheeks and you're black and blue. But then what happens? It all sloughs off. So
I gained, or I lost weight
Uh-huh.
this last check-in that I had.
So it kind of took a little bit. So
Yeah.
you'll kind of go. And some people will like measure their quads or their arms and they'll be bigger. Well, it's muscle.
Right.
So you're building muscles. So a couple things I wanted to touch on, I made a couple notes, is, you know, you had mentioned keto. And, you know, if you could tell the viewers out there, because everybody's trying to jump on the next fad diet, shiny object, liquid gold, now shots and injections. What would you say the difference between keto and Melfit would be?
So I think a lot of it is the level of nutrients that you're getting. So, and I had someone ask me the other day about, that's actually on your program, they're like, why all the sweet potatoes? And I said, sweet potatoes, I read an article, and I can't quote what article it came from, but they said that they're like the #1 healthiest food for having a diversity of nutrients. So it's kind of a one shot, you know, you're getting a lot of what you need with sweet potatoes, and they stay with you, so they don't burn through like potatoes, like regular potatoes.
Slow burning.
You would eat a regular potato, and you know, maybe in an hour you're hungry again. Whereas sweet potatoes, they keep you satisfied. So with keto, it was more about, it was like fat. I mean, you could eat cheese. Stuff was smothered in cheese, which I was like, yeah, cheese is my jam. Let's do that.
Yeah.
But we know that dairy is inflammatory, right? So we have all those inflammatory responders. And part of what I wrote in my article for the magazine, the Melfit magazine spring edition, was there was a study done in 2019 that talked about inflammation in your body and how your diet can influence that inflammation. Your body is so used to fighting off, you have your immune responders that are fighting off infections. And one of the areas that we see it is we see inflammation in the body, we see swelling, things like that. Specifically, what I see in my line of work in the mouth is I see gingivitis, periodontal disease, which is red inflamed tissue that bleeds easily. You can tell those immune responders have been working over time because that's the signs that they produce. So, you know, same thing with your body. If you can get rid of some of that inflammation, you're going to see an increase in your overall health. So being on keto, you still have those inflammatory foods in your system. Your body's not going to completely heal. Your gut's not going to completely heal. And honestly, what's the long term with stuff like that? If you're putting a bunch of the wrong fats in your body, what's going on in your heart, in your arteries that we can't see?
I agree.
So, yeah, it sounds good on paper, but you never know long term. So
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree with that so much. And the one thing that I see, because I've helped so many people that have done keto, lost 20 pounds, and then gained 10 more, so then they're up 30. And it doesn't seem, in my opinion, with my 20 years of experience and all the keto failures that I've worked with, it doesn't seem to be something that people can adhere to long term. And for me, I'm an athlete. I'm very active. I get lots of steps. I couldn't live with the low amount of carbohydrates.
Mm-hmm.
And sweet potatoes are the perfect food. They're low on the glycemic index. And I think a lot of things that people are consuming, it's just spiking their blood sugar.
Mm-hmm.
So what you want to do is you want the perfect food is something that's going to last you at least 4 hours. So when I put together meals, I don't know if you noticed this, Emily, I'm trying to find food combinations with the best staying power.
Mm-hmm.
I do not want you to be hungry
Right.
in 30 minutes. So if I give you like a savory something or something that's more sweet and it doesn't have a lot of protein, then I'll try to get you to pair it. But touching on bread, we're gluten-free, dairy-free, no processed sugar. I do allow sourdough because it's fermented, and I have been obsessed with my Melfit Monte Cristo. I made it with blueberries.
I need to make that one.
Oh, I made it with raspberries.
Ooh, yum.
I gotta show you a picture. I took it to a party. I mean, I have to tell you, if you haven't got to this level yet in your fitness journey, you really need to just look at yourself in the mirror. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
When I get up the day after I've consumed some healthy carbohydrates, I look phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
My muscles are full. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
When you see somebody who has gone really low carb and starvation, how do they look, Emily?
Just inflamed.
Yeah, or they look emaciated and almost flat sometimes, you know?
Right.
And sometimes you have to get to a different level of fitness to see it, but I personally notice on myself, like, I don't know, you'll have to start paying attention to yourself and realizing that the carbohydrates make you look better and they help you perform better. So it's 2022, people. Carbs are your friends. So
the right kind of carbs.
Yes, so good. So about the budget, I think you put something in the magazine. So Emily was featured in our Melfit Healthy Times. Josh is going to put the link in the show notes. You can get a hard copy or a digital copy. If you're local, you can pick it up at River City Dental, where Emily has worked for how many years?
14 years.
14 years. Pilgrim, Super Supplements, the Brew Bar, and the Pentagon, and Satay Bistro. And I believe she is our success story, and she is also wrote an article in the Ask the Professional section. So please check those out. But I think you wrote something to the fact of that you wish you would have bought it sooner, or something about if you know, something about
my only
money.
regret was not doing it sooner.
Yeah. And Emily, let me ask you this now. Has what it's brought you, not only the physical, although that's fabulous because we had so much fun shopping and everything looks so good on her.
Fun, yeah.
But what it's brought you, can you put a price on that?
No, it's taken my relationships, just my life, my own health, just to the next level. I feel like I'm better at work. I feel like I'm, more clear-headed when I'm doing things, I feel like I can make it through my day instead of being just exhausted at the end of the day. And that to me is, I want to live my life every day. I don't want to just, live on special events or whatever, or save up for those days and then the rest of the time feel like crap. Yeah. I want to feel good every day. And I was, we talk a lot about GI health, and I know Melissa's got her gut flush program out, which I need to try next. But I would wake up every day with a horrible stomach ache. And I can tell, even if I have like a free day where I have something, which I try to keep my free days pretty clean, but if I have something I'm not supposed to, I will wake up with a stomach ache. Yes. And when I'm eating clean, I have no GI issues. Yeah.
You're like me, and a lot of people are like, don't you want that? Yes, I want that, but I've worked on fixing my gut health for so many years, it'll take me a week to fix that. And sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not. But you saying what you just said is, I mean, honestly, if you're taking notes, you guys, live every day. Stop living for some special event or stop working up to that special event. Like, enjoy every day of your journey, because the journey is what you're going to remember.
Right.
You know, yeah, it's fabulous that Emily lost 40 pounds, but how about the journey? Yeah, live every day, enjoy every day, move your body every day, and most importantly, accept and enjoy the fact that in order to stay here, you have to do what you did to get here, so you might as well enjoy the ride. And stop making it so difficult and get out of your own way, because I make it fun. I'm a fun person. I have fun recipes. Like, I tire from the same workouts and the same recipes. That's why I'm constantly creating new content. But also, knowledge is power, and you are an educator, so you already kind of, you know, have that kind of, you know, it's a good feeling to know that you know more than others in certain areas. Now that you're on the top of the mountain and you have all this education, does it not make you look around in, if you could put a percentage on it, is it not shocking? You're sitting at the top of the mountain. What percent of the people looking down around you in your practice, in your students, in your daily life, in your friends group, what percentage could you help with your knowledge?
Oh, a lot of people. And I've seen the dental implications firsthand. You know, you can read study after study, but the best study that you can have is one that you can see in real life. So, you know, I see people that I've actually recommended that they, you know, start with cutting out inflammatory foods, and we've actually seen improvement in their dental health. So, and that's been, you know, since I feel like I've resurfaced my nutritional past with what I learned in college about nutrition. It was always there. It was just you helped to bring it out, and helped me to really kind of get motivated and kind of find passion in doing this again and learning about it, challenging myself.
I love that.
So there was another thing that kind of came up because I was looking at, when I was doing my graduate program, I had to do a guest lecture. So I guest lectured to dental hygiene students, and we talked about fitness and nutrition. And I'm standing up there at 201 pounds, and I'm telling my students that to be a long-term successful dental hygienist and practice for more than, 20, 30 years, if you want to be here for a long time, you got to get your core in shape.
Because it's hard on your body.
Yeah, and I'm standing up there with 201 pounds on my body and, 60 extra pounds. And I felt like a hypocrite. And I actually went back and told the students later, because they had not seen me since I'd done my guest lecture, and I saw them probably 6 months later, and they're like, I did a Zoom lecture for them, and they told me afterwards, they're like, wow, we didn't even know that was you. And I said, you know what, you guys were part of my turning point, because I felt like a hypocrite being up there saying, oh, you guys really need to get your core in shape, when I'm a practicing hygienist and I didn't even have my own core in shape.
That's one.
Practice what you preach.
One of your best attributes amongst many is the fact that you can admit that.
Yeah.
Most people would not admit that. So that's awesome.
You have to look for those moments of growth in life.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
If you can't find them, then you're going to be stuck.
Instead of making excuses and denying it. And I think that constantly being in a state of denial is just going to put you in a darker hole. So come out with it.
Right.
We've all come out with our truth, and it's healing. And we all want the same thing. And a couple more things. One I wanted to touch on is, you saying that you didn't think you could fit in. One thing that I really feel like we have a group called Melfit Connect is it doesn't matter whether you're yellow, purple, green, blue, where you come from, anything, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you can afford $1 a day and you're on the app, great. I mean, you're going to get so much value from that, but we're all in it together, and we just want to better our lifestyle and figure out how to stop chasing fad diets and how to make this a lifestyle. And one thing I think, a question I always get when I do my sales calls is, well, what about my family?
Mm-hmm.
And I know what I'm going to say, but what about your family? Did they get hot dogs and mac and cheese while you were doing this?
It's kind of every once in a while they'll have that, you know, but they still eat pretty much the same foods as I do.
I love it.
What did I make the other day? I made a recipe. Oh, it was curry. It was a curry chicken, Thai curry chicken recipe, and my daughter had wanted noodles. They're kind of noodle-holics, which I'm trying to kind of cut back on that. Do zoodles and things like that. My daughter wanted noodles, so I cooked her and my son some noodles. And my son looks at me and he goes, "Mommy, what are you eating?" And I said, "It's a curry chicken. Can I try some?" He ended up taking the rest of the portion that I had that I was saving for the next day. He ate the whole thing. And he goes, "This is so good, Mommy." And
so then you make your note, right?
yeah, and I had put it over, I just steamed some cauliflower and put it over some cauliflower. He even ate the cauliflower.
Wow. I love that.
Smoothies, I cut up veggies. I cut up some veggies, and I think I posted this on Melfit Connect where I had prepped my veggies for week 1. And I got in the fridge, and half of them were gone.
With her cute little crinkle mandolin little cute cutter.
Yeah, and the cucumbers were gone, the snap peas were gone, and so my kids had like eaten it, and I was like, where did all my veggies go? And I was like, I'm not mad. I'm actually really happy that you guys are eating your veggies. Like, awesome.
And honestly, I think it goes back to you're the head honcho. You're the one going to the grocery store. If that's what it is there and that's what's ready, that's what they're going to eat.
Right.
So I love it. I was going to say, if you can listen to, I know you have to work tonight and teach your class, but the Facebook Live, which I moved to Tuesday because I have so many people now, I talk about a cauliflower linguine noodle that I found at Costco. Have you tried it?
I have to try that. Costco's really stepping up with...
There is some really bad gluten-free noodles out there,
Yeah.
you guys. Like, bad. Like, I can't tell you how many noodles that I've cooked and just tossed. These are phenomenal.
Oh, check them
and
out.
I bought the Rouse Marinara and which come in a 2-pack at Costco, and I bought the Sabatino's pre-made, not as good as Melfit, but in a pinch. Like, I just want to keep giving people easy recipes that they can do. And get going. So how many, where are we at, Josh?
We're in an hour and 2 minutes.
Oh my gosh, this is a good one. You guys are getting a good walk and a good run on your treadmill. So
let's run the last
so
5
there's so
minutes
many
if you
good
can.
things in here. I wrote down a couple things that you said that were so good. I mean, this fills my cup up too. So kind of in closing, what advice would you give anybody listening or watching that's scared to death and they can't seem to fathom fitting it into their busy life? Like, what advice can you give them?
I guess my biggest advice would be organized. I mean, I think you definitely, the plan's there, but, you know, I teach students, so I give them the syllabus. Melfit's kind of like a syllabus. Like, here's the plan. You have to follow the plan, essentially. If you don't follow the plan in my class or the syllabus in my class, you may fail the class. Yeah, failure is always there. And a lot of people are afraid of failure. But be transparent. Even if it's uncomfortable, be transparent. Tell people you're doing this. It makes you more accountable. Document it. Document your journey. You know, I still have all of the pictures of when I first started the sweaty selfies, and I go back and even just the change in my face, my rosacea has improved. Just looking back and doing those check-ins where you're seeing that progress is going to be what pushes you. I think in some of your videos you say what you do this month is going to be next month's rewards or something like that. So it takes a while. Yeah. And that's why I think I got burnt out on, you know, previous things, as I wasn't seeing results right away. And it's like that 20 pounds in the first 12-week boot camp, I didn't really notice a change until I went back and started looking at them, until I submitted my final check-in. And having that accountability is what really helps you realize that you're changing. So get your whole family involved. My husband had heartburn and it's gone away.
awesome.
Which is awesome because he's eating a lot of the same foods that I am.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was hard in the beginning because I was so focused on, what do I have to prep and everything, and I kind of just did it for myself in the beginning. But as things like that happened, where my son was like, "Mommy, can I try that?" It was like, "Okay, yeah, give it a try," and you feel better feeding your family healthy foods too.
Give it about 20 years, you're gonna love what you see with your family. And the best example I can give you, I think I told this story on my Facebook Live, is when I started my journey, I was just about to lose it, and I just had to tell him, it was earlier in our marriage, like, I'm sure the typical stigma is I'm supposed to take care of my husband, and be this great wife, which I was, but I needed to take care of me because I was single-handedly sabotaging my own marriage because I was uncomfortable in my own skin. So I remember declaring that this is it. I'm doing this, and I don't even care if you got to fend for yourself. Like, I have to figure this out. And fast forward to last week, you guys will get such a kick out of this. A few months ago, 2 months ago, I think it was, 2 or 3 months ago, Iggy got diagnosed with high cholesterol, and that really rattled his cage. Like, it bothered him. And I said, okay, so for the most part, you're on my team, but when you get away from me sometimes, i.e. eating lunch at Toro Viejo, red meat, and also you haven't been really, rigid with your workouts and consistent with your workouts. So the last 3 months, he's been eating everything I cook, and we've been just doing our free day as our date night, and really very few trips to Toro Viejo. His cholesterol went from 278 to 178.
Wow.
He dropped 100 points. So that day I said, I don't mean to burst your bubble, Iggy, but I'm going to tell you the same thing I tell my clients. If you want to stay looking like this, you have to continue to do the things you did to get you here. You can't expect to keep it if you go back to your old ways.
Right.
So I buy those Siete chips from Costco.
Yeah. Those are good.
And I usually buy him the organic corn. And I kind of have my area. I may or may not hide things. And I looked over and I saw him with my Siete chips. And I go, those are my healthy chips. Because they're not cheap. And he looked at me and he goes, I'm healthy now too. And I'm like, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, because I'm talking, that's why I'm telling you, you think it's good now, girl, you give it about 20 years. And they will all be just like, you are the queen bee. They idolize you. You won't have to buy his food and their food. And I said to Iggy, I'm like, gosh, I've just waited my whole life for this, just to be able to go to the grocery store. Not that we won't have our free days, but to be able to grocery store and mostly 90% be food that I eat, because I get embarrassed. Like, I know people look in my cart. Like, when I have people in the summer, I ask for a list. There are things that I refuse. Like, one day I had one of the daughters wanted red vines, and I was like, I'll be damned if you're going to see me in frickin' Costco with red vines in my cart. Like, I was mortified.
Yeah.
What else was it? One time I was at the store, I think I sent Josh. What did I send you for, Josh? I wouldn't buy. Do you remember? Was it for a presentation, or I don't know. I think I was trying to prove a point. What was it?
Lay's potato chips.
Uh-oh.
Oh, that's right. I remember. I'll tell you later why. It was a crazy, stupid photo shoot thing, and it was like a bodybuilding tip.
I remember that one.
Yeah, and it was to, get your sodium levels up and make you look full. Stupid things we've tried. But anyways, that's how the Melfit 6-week shred came. I actually created a realistic plan that wasn't stupid, that you weren't starving yourself for, but yeah. So this has been an awesome convo. Lots of good nuggets, Emily. And I love that you're stuck with me and I'm stuck with you. And it's a fun journey watching you grow. And you're a true testament of the fact that there's no ceiling in Melfit. You did the 12-week twice. You're doing the 6-week shred. From there, you're going to, maybe do the gut flush and then kind of just play around and have fun, but most importantly, I feel like the growth is never going to stop for you.
Maybe
So,
get back to running again.
maybe
See how that knee goes.
if our knees will hold us. I feel
Hopefully.
like I have the same thing as you,
Yeah.
but yeah. So
Yeah.
this is awesome. I know you're super busy, so thanks for taking the
Yeah,
time
thanks for having me.
to come here today. And we'll put Emily's, if you don't mind, Emily's social media in the comments too, because there might be someone that wants to, you know, reach out to you personally. Some people are a little bit more private, and I know that, you know, you're in the business of helping people, so I know you won't mind helping. So
Oh, I'd love anybody that wants to reach out. Be happy to help.
yeah. Anything you'd like to add, or any?
Just don't hesitate. I'm thankful Melfit's changed my life, and I love it. Don't hesitate to do it.
I'm so
So,
glad.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm hoping some people in your office will get with it. So
Let's do it.
Yeah. So if you are watching or listening to this podcast, please like, subscribe, and share the show. And we will see you guys on the next Melfit podcast. Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Emily. Bye-bye.
Bye.